Hi, I'm Suzie Cheel, and today I'm talking with Angela Artemis, who's the founder of Powered by Intuition and the author of the recently released book, The Intuition Principle. Welcome, Angela.
Oh, thank you, Susie. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, it's always such a delight to talk to you.
Oh,
Angela and I
absolutely.
met a couple of years ago, probably, actually online and through our blog. And then last year, I had the pleasure of winning one of Angela's readings. And I was at a bit of the crossroads in my life at that time. And one of the things that Angela suggested for me that has totally opened up my creativity, and for those of you who watch my page and things will see the paintings. I did a series of paintings called prescriptions, which
Right.
when you first suggested that to me, I thought, a prescription? It's a bit like a doctor or something like that.
Right.
But it was wonderful, and I went ahead every morning. As soon as I got up, I painted, and I did a series of 21 prescriptions. And from that has led on to me doing an intuitive heart series and basically taking probably what's going to be now my business back more to being an intuitive artist and moving forward in that direction. And going back to something I used to do, which was I used to colour people's worlds with my clothing and my scarves. Now I'm going to do that through what people can put on their walls and cards and things. So I feel I have a lot to thank you for that, Angela.
Oh, well, I'm so happy I was able to help you. When we were talking last year, when you won the session with me, it's just one of those things when I get a strong sense about a person, what would be helpful to them, I just say it. And you were the first person I ever gave a prescription to. So it just came out. And it worked, and it was the right thing for you, as you said. And you've made some beautiful, beautiful paintings that I've seen that you've shared online, and they're gorgeous. The colors are just, oh, beautiful, beautiful. So it's good. I'm so glad I was able to help.
And what it is what is wonderful actually, Angela, is it's, as we're mainly talking about intuition, it comes from my intuition. I
Hmm.
I go into my studio at the moment. I have what's called a creative healing journey that I paint in most days. I have no idea what I'm going to paint when I walk in there. I just look at the colours, look at the crayons, whatever else, and then it flows. And I'm always, always quite surprised. And yesterday I felt I was listening more to my intuition because I thought, oh, maybe a bit more. And I actually heard my heart say, no, Susie, it's enough. So, Angela, your book, The Intuition Principle, which I was absolutely delighted to read and to actually talk to you about, can you tell the viewers a little about why you've written the book and maybe just a little bit about what brought you to using your intuition and how it's helped you?
Oh, sure. Well, I wrote the book because for many years, Susie, I was so unhappy. I had a great life. I mean, on the outside, no one would think that I was unhappy. But I was not happy. I was very dissatisfied with my life because I wasn't being true to who I am inside. I wasn't living authentically. And because I wasn't living authentically, I made a lot of wrong choices in my life. And making the wrong choices solidifies your life on a path that, for me, wasn't the path I was supposed to be on. But you know what happens once you get on a path? You just can't get off of it. It sort of like moves you along. So I was not in a career that was really suited to me. I was not following my own intuition. So by not listening to my own intuition because I wasn't connected, because I wasn't living authentically, I made all these mistakes. And I had a life I wasn't happy with. So what happened was, here I was helping other people, giving them answers when they needed answers about their own lives, but completely ignoring my own intuition. So I decided I better listen to my intuition. And I made a vow. I was going to listen to my intuition 100%. And I said, I'm going to see. It was sort of like I was going to do everything based on my intuition. And what happened was all these wonderful coincidences started to take place in my life, and it got better and better and better. And so I realized here I was able to give advice to other people while listening to my own intuition, but not listening to it for myself. What's wrong with that picture? So I changed and I started keeping track of everything that happened to me. And when I went back, I saw it was all because I had started listening to my intuition. So I decided to write it down. And in fact, that's why I started Powered by Intuition. I didn't want anyone to suffer like I had. So to lead into why I wrote the book, it was to alleviate my own pain, just like everybody in life, I wanted to be happier. And of course, writing it down, and it became, I became aware that I had a philosophy. I didn't realize I had a philosophy, but I had created a philosophy and the principle, which is the intuition principle. And that's what I wrote the book for, and that's why it's called the intuition principle.
That's wonderful, Angela. And as I was listening to you, I can think of the many times in my life where I've bounded ahead and done things where I know inside there was a niggling little voice, or my gut feeling told me, no, don't do this.
Yes.
Yeah, so I feel, I understand, that point of view, because you came from a financial background, didn't you?
Yes, yes. Yeah, and it's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's a wonderful profession. And in fact, it's, you can have a wonderful life. You can help people. Everyone needs financial advice and live a wonderful life. But I knew there was more. There was something more for me. And unless I was able to take hold of that certain person inside that I was kind of ignoring all this time, I wasn't going to be able to live this life that I knew would allow me to really express who I was and all of my talents and abilities. So it was kind of limiting in a sense. So I needed to get away from that.
And that's what you've done as well. Yeah. So Angela, I've read your book and I found it very empowering. I found a lot of the exercises or a lot of the suggestions that you have, I am already doing in my life. But there was which is good. You've got an amazing amount of exercises in there that I know now that I can go back and, as you say, devote half an hour or so. And particularly with looking at, I suppose for me at the moment, shifting in different ways, some of those exercises in the book will help me. And I can see how they'll help other people who maybe are just developing their intuition, or even have a fairly well-developed intuition, to actually expand it further. And that's what I think is wonderful about that exercise as well. You're also giving people some meditations, some MP3s. When people buy the book, they can get some bonuses
You can
as well.
have them now. They don't even have to buy the book. They can
get the
they're
bonus.
available. Yep, they're just free bonus materials. Of course, it's helpful to have read the book because it will put them in context, but they stand alone. They can have them now.
Now, one of the things I loved about that you have mentioned in the book is something called the fabulousity factor. Or did I say that properly or not? Anyway.
The fabulosity factor. Yes. Everyone wants to know, what's the fabulosity factor? It is when you tune in and find out who you really are and who you were really meant to be in this life. When you connect to your authentic self, you will start to hear your intuition coming through louder, more clearly, and more frequently. And when you start listening to it, what will happen is what I explained earlier is what happened with me. When all of these wonderful positive coincidences start to occur in your life. In other words, you'll start to have synchronicities where you're in the right place at the right time. and you run into just the person that you need that will help you solve some problem or point you in the direction of a solution. Or, serendipity will occur in your life where you need something and it just somehow falls into your lap. Because you're listening to your intuition, you are attuned to the pulse of life. You are attuned to the flow of life, and it is flowing through you, and you're listening. And when you're listening, you'll be guided to be in the right place at the right time. And then people will look at you and say, whoa, what's up with her? She's so lucky. Everything just works out all the time. It's like magical. Of course, it's not magical. It's just that you are flowing with life. You're not pushing against it. You are flowing with it. And in doing so, because you're listening to your intuition, you are listening, and you are doing things that you're inspired to do by your intuition. So it sort of puts you on a collision course with all these good things. And then that's what I call the fabulousity factor. Your life is fabulous. So that's what it is.
I love it. But I can hear, I can sort of hear that, not so much in my mind these days, but I can hear people saying, oh, Angela, oh, Suzie, that's okay for you because you've used your intuition for so long. But, I'm fearful of, I'm fearful of trusting myself. And we know that that's what stops a lot of people and what blocks them moving forward. So is there anything you can suggest to that sort of person who's sort of very fearful of trusting their self and their own voices?
Yes, two things. One, think back to a time in your life when you did something, and the moment that you did it, you heard that little voice in the back of your mind that said, "Ooh, I shouldn't have done that." And then later, something goes terribly awry because of what you did, and you think back, I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have done that. That's your intuition. It's nothing magical. It's nothing like a booming voice or a burning bush. That little voice in your head, that's your intuition. So if you identify with that little voice, you already have 50% of an understanding of what your intuition is. The second part is, I would say, is keep a little notebook with you. Just a little tiny, one of those little tiny notebooks you can stuff in your pocket or in your purse. And whenever you have one of those thoughts that you feel like it's your intuition, write it down. And then if it's something that you feel inspired to do, follow it. Of course, I don't want you to be making financial decisions and buying and selling millions of dollars yet. Don't do that. Start off small. Make little decisions based on what you hear, these little inspired thoughts. And as you develop a list, when you go back and look in this little book, you'll be able to see how correct you were and see where it led you. And you'll slowly start to develop confidence in it. But you have to start small. Don't push yourself. Don't do anything you feel uncomfortable doing or reluctant to do. Just do what you feel inspired to do, but keep notes, because when you have that written down, it's your proof. That's what will build your confidence. You're building kind of like your evidence log, and that will help you develop trust in it. You have to take the leap first in order to trust. You can't think you're going to trust it first. You have to make a leap of faith, and then the trust will come. But you can do it if you start small.
That's wonderful. And I think for those people who say, oh, I no longer keep notebooks and things, but I think it's important what you've just said, isn't it? That thing is, you have to take that leap of faith. And that's about also having faith in yourself as well is very important.
Well, when you start using your intuition, you actually develop more confidence in yourself over time, because you see just how wise you really are and how you do have the answers within, and how really capable you are. So it really does help you develop your confidence too.
Yes, and we tap into that wisdom that we have within as well. Now, in the book, Angela, one of the areas that interests me is, because it's an area I still seem to have some challenges with, is the importance of dreams. of your, I know of keeping a book or something by your bed and things like that, and actually remembering the dreams.
Dreams are really important, and because they're simple. Everybody knows how to go to sleep. Nobody has to teach you how to go to sleep at night. It's natural, right?
That's right, absolutely.
Nobody has to teach you how to have a dream. And we all have dreams. So it's a really easy and simple way to receive intuitive guidance for your life. Because when you're sleeping, you're not resisting. In other words, you know, if you're the type of person who is not trusting of the intuitive voice, or you haven't learned how to trust it yet, when you're sleeping, all your defenses are down. You're not resisting any information that's coming through to your mind. So a dream, if you ask for an answer in your dream to some problem that you're having in your life, you can get a dream, and it can just come to you in a very beautiful and symbolic way. And when you wake up in the morning, you can analyze this dream and get guidance for your life. So that's why I think it's really important for people to realize that we already have the tools. Even if we don't think we're intuitive, you don't even need to do anything. You can just ask for dreams, and that will guide your life. I mean, I do that. I have dream logs going back for years and years, and some of my dreams are so amazing, but so insightful. They give me an insight into what I'm feeling and what I really think I should do that maybe I'm not even aware of consciously. You know, something's bothering me, but I don't want to face it. It'll come out in a dream. So they're extremely important and simple and easy tools that we all have at our disposal.
I think that's the thing. There are so many, a lot of what we need to develop our intuition we have within us, or we get by asking. And the other thing that you have said is one of the most important things, and which I still hear people saying, I can't meditate, you know, I can't do that. Suzie, you know, how come you meditate, you know, and things like that. As you point out, meditation is one of the most important things to begin with getting in touch with our intuition, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like you can't tell what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Right.
With intuition, there are so many benefits to intuition. It's beneficial to your health physically. It's beneficial to your mental health. It's beneficial to your emotional health. And it is also beneficial to you spiritually. And one of the things that happens when you meditate, you also become more intuitive. It is a byproduct of meditation. So I feel meditation is one of the best tools that you can use in your life to benefit every area of your life, not just your intuitive ability, but your health and everything else. So as a byproduct of meditating, I found I became even more intuitive. And I wasn't trying to become, you know, as intuitive as I am. It just happened. And I wasn't trying. So if you do it with the intention of increasing your intuitive abilities, it's even more effective because that's your intention, right? But it really works, and it's simple. I mean, 15 minutes.
I mean, you suggest in your book for people who maybe haven't been meditating that they just start, even whether it's 5 or 10 minutes a day, before they get out of bed.
Right. What they do is, if you're in bed, when you wake up in the morning, you're already calm, you're already relaxed, and you're kind of groggy, you're not fully awake yet. So that's a good time to just prop up the pillows behind you, sit up, and then just close your eyes again and just fold your hands on your lap, and then just get even quieter and go within. And I give an exercise in the book where you can just sort of count backwards. You could count backwards from 100 to 1 or 50 to 1 or 25 to 1 and just visualize each number. Or I like to say, if you want to feel that you're descending into a deeper level of awareness where you're more relaxed and in a meditative state, you could see yourself going down an elevator. You know, and every time you go deeper, you know, you see the next lower floor level on the elevator, and that makes you feel somehow aligning with going deeper within. And as you do that, when you get to that deep place within, just stay calm and focused and listen. Just listen to your thoughts. And what will happen is because you're calm and quiet, and also because it's the first thing in the morning and hopefully you're not going crazy with that monkey mind, you'll feel a sense of calmness and a sense of peace just sort of wash over you. And you'll start to hear, like your own thoughts will kind of recede to the background. And all of a sudden, you might have like this inspiration that comes through. And it could be the answer to a problem. It could be something like, I haven't thought of Suzie in 2 weeks. I'm gonna Skype Suzie today. And then for some reason, I Skype you and you say, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. I have the best thing for you. I want you to try this thing. And so I try this, whatever it is, and it's like, oh my God, that's just the inspiration I needed for this project. But you receive inspiration when you're listening for it and when you're quiet. It doesn't come through when your mind is like fighting itself with these jumbled thoughts that are, whoa, nothing can get through when there's too much traffic.
That's right.
So being quiet, being calm, going within, finding that calm center will allow all of these inspired thoughts and intuitive solutions to come up into your awareness. So it's really, really important. It's how you learn to hear your intuition, really.
So that's that is one of the most important things for people who, so far they haven't developed their intuition. That's their first step, isn't it, really, is to...
Absolutely. And there are other ways, but intuition is the most important one.
And as your intuition develops, you'll just find things. I mean, this is my experience now. Things will happen in the day, and then you'll get a phone call the next day, and you'll think, that's why that was going on, or something. I had that example this week. A very old friend passed away, and I fortunately had just spoken to her, last week, and I was about to send her one of my paintings, and on the Wednesday morning I thought, I'll do the painting. And during the afternoon, she'd been sort of, Jeannie, must be. Anyway, and so that was the day before. So she was actually, it's just funny how she was actually there trying to get my attention, I think, in some ways, to say, it's okay, I'm okay now. So and I think it's that thing, it's part of your life. Is that what you would say?
It does. It's already part of our lives. We're just not paying attention to it. It's sort of like the example where when you buy a new car, you know how you're suddenly very attuned to seeing that model car everywhere you go?
Oh, yes.
Every 2 cars is the car that you bought, right?
Yeah.
Because you are aware of it. It's not anything different. I mean, those cars were always there before you bought the car. Nothing has changed. All that has changed is your focus, your awareness, your intention. So the same thing with intuition. When you choose to focus on it, when you choose to make it part of your daily life, you become aware of it. And you also become aware of just how intuitive you already are, because it's natural. We all have it. It's all part of our thinking process. We just don't pay attention.
But it's also like other things in your life, isn't it? It's like doing yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong and things. You have to practice.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where it can be, I can hear people saying now I need a little journal, I need a log, and I need a dream journal, and I've got to practice meditation. How am I going to fit that into my life? What would you say to people?
Well, I would say don't go crazy. First of all, you don't need to do an hour of meditation a day. You could start with 5 or 10 minutes and then work up to 15 and then maybe go to 20. That will do you a world of good in the morning. If you set your alarm for, 15 minutes earlier, don't get out of bed, just sit there and do that. It will be 100 times worth losing the 15 minutes sleep. It will be so. And then after that, if you keep a little journal and, I mean, not a journal, one of those little books, they're like this big, I don't know, whether it's 3 by 5 inches. Keep that in your pocket or your car or your briefcase or whatever. And when you have one of these thoughts that you feel is intuitively inspired, just jot it down. That's all. And then as far as your dreams go, that can become part of your life too, because a lot of times what happens is you might wake up in the middle of the night and in the midst of a dream, and all you need to do is keep a little notebook on your bedside table and a pen and just write 2 words: elephants, jeeps, zebras, whatever, I don't know, whatever it was, just write. You don't have to write the whole story, but just so when you get up in the morning, it'll jog your memory. And then you can write a few more details about it. And then, when you take a shower, analyze the dream. What does it mean to you? What is it telling you? What is the guidance that is coming from your inner wisdom in the form of these symbols through the dreams? So it really, actually, if you really break it down, it doesn't really take that much time. Just a few little notes,
That's right. And people might find that they really find by journaling, and I do journal by hand, and I journal with coloured textures and things like that. You often get answers to questions, or you get guidance about maybe something that you need to do for the day. So I find that's very powerful as well, and I know it's something that in the book you suggest too.
Yeah, journaling is extremely important. And I know, again, it's one of those things people feel like, oh, that's another thing. You can pick and choose. You don't have to do all of them. I would say if you're going to pick one, pick meditation. If you're going to pick 2 and you want your life to be really simple, keep track of your dreams and meditate. If you really want to see how deeply you can get into your intuition, start journaling. Journaling is like dialoguing with your higher self, with your intuitive self. If you allow the pen to speak, you speak through this writing, as you know, all the insights that come to you they're priceless, absolutely priceless. And it is your intuitive mind, because you're relaxed. And you're not, you're unburdening your soul. You're not afraid of anyone judging you. You're not afraid. You're not having any conversation other than with yourself. So you could be really honest and truthful. And the more open you are, the more authentic you become, the more insights you will get, and the more you'll be able to apply it to your life and make your life better. So I do highly suggest journaling, but I do understand you can't do everything. So pick and choose.
And do what feels, when you say do what feels comfortable, do what makes you feel good. If it feels like a burden or a trial, it's not going to help you. So doing something that makes you feel good is really important.
That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely. If you feel that it's burdening to your life, it's overwhelming, no, you don't want to feel that way, because then you'll resent doing it and it won't be useful. So you're right, absolutely.
And Angela, can I just ask, do you go back over and read your journals? Maybe not within a month or so, but maybe, you think, oh, something's happened. Oh, I might go back and read that, or not.
I have so many journals that I have them packed in a box in storage.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
So, the only ones that I have are ones maybe from the last 2 years that I have. And honestly, I rarely go back and read them, but I'm not throwing them out. And I don't suggest you do, because you will remember, like I know when I was inspired to write the book, The Intuition Principle, was the idea came to me about 6 years ago. And I had written an outline for the book. Now, I just physically sat down and wrote the book last March, April, and May, and June of 2011. That notebook is in storage. And I kept saying, oh, I wish I had that notebook. I wish I had that notebook. But you know what? Now I'm glad I don't have the notebook, because I feel like I love the book I wrote. So I don't suggest you throw them out, but I also think it's all progress. You're all moving forward. So maybe going back isn't as important as moving forward. So I don't feel bad that I don't have them and I don't reread them. I guess that's the long answer, you know.
Mm. No, it's just I was asking you that because I'm clearing out, and my. But I found something from 1985 when I first started doing spiritual and opening work, and it
Yeah.
was very interesting to read a lot of what I had written there,
Oh,
and thinking, oh, I'm still learning some of those lessons.
oh,
Yeah, so I think it for me. So that was interesting. That was just because it was in a different sort of folder, and it sort of jumped out at me. And the other reason I asked you that question was because when I was in hospital last July, when I was just focused on healing and home, not on anything I had. About 3 months later, I went back and read. I journaled every day, and I went back and read what I'd written. I don't even remember. A lot of that was like I got a download, and
yeah.
I was thinking, I wish I had gone back and read it then, because maybe I wouldn't have had a relapse, because all the answers were there, but I was focusing on getting on with life and things like that. So I've since then taken a step back and learnt to be, just to
Yeah.
be and not to, and not
You know,
as you talk about in the book, is to trust what's within here and to stop looking outside.
That's so true. Well, and in that case, I mean, what you were saying about going back and reading what you had written in 1985 and realizing you were still learning those lessons. I mean, it takes a lifetime for us to learn these things. It really does. And sometimes you have to be knocked on the head, a couple of times, right? It doesn't, just because you read it in a book doesn't mean you're ready to act upon it. Because if you have not expanded your consciousness enough to accept those lessons, if our ego is still not ready to let go in whatever way
Yeah.
it's holding on, we can intellectually know something, but that doesn't mean that we have internalized the lesson. And I know it's funny. I think that if I went back and read my older journals, I would soon find out that I still have many lessons to master that I was still trying back then that I haven't gotten.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think sure we have to keep doing. We need repetition.
We need repetition, and I mean, it's like, as you say, you can read it in a book. You can listen to somebody say it. Until you actually take it on board yourself, it doesn't really mean anything.
No, absolutely. It's sort of like something you see on a chalkboard in school. It doesn't get in here, It doesn't. I just wrote a blog post about something that happened to me also a long time ago, where I had an opportunity because of my writing, but because I wasn't ready, I couldn't take the next step, and it took me until last year to write this book. So even though I could have written it a long time ago with this other opportunity, I wasn't ready. My consciousness had not yet expanded to the point where I could see that I am a writer that could author a book. You have to get to that place where you accept who you are. And if you're not ready, people can tell you, oh, yes, you could do that, but you won't believe it until you're. So it's like anything. Your consciousness has to be ready to accept it.
Well, Angela, this has been wonderful. I think the viewers have got a lot of insight into how you work and how and what your book is about and why it's something very special. If it speaks to you, it might be something. You might watch this video in a year's time and think, I remember that book. Maybe it's time to buy it now. And I think that's what Angela's saying. It's about you have to be ready. It's not something you can say, oh yes, I want to do that now, and you might find that ego is still there. So, Angela, is there any thought you'd like to leave the viewers with as we finish today?
Yes, one last thought. The intuition principle is about getting in touch with who you are authentically by listening to your intuition. It's not so much a book about developing intuition as it is living an intuitively inspired life. Because when you live an intuitively inspired life, you're in touch with your intuition at all times and you live the fabulousity factor. So that's why I really wrote the book, because not that everyone has to be so intuitive and give readings or anything like that. It's about living your best life and feeling joy and feeling fabulous.
And yeah, that's it. And it's about it's about if you want your life to be happier and better. This is it's like a guidebook, isn't it? In some ways, it's a guidebook. And it's something you could look and think, I could pick up, all right, I can jump over to that. I'd like to do that exercise because Angela has a very detailed index. So you could think, now where was that exercise? And it's very good. And I love the idea that you have an index at the back as well. Makes it easier for people to read as well. And it's also available on Kindle, isn't it?
Yes, Barnes & Noble and Amazon, and, digitally too, of course.
And we'll put the links at the end of the video so that if you would like to start your journey or increase your journey, the intuition principle is a wonderful place to start. So today I've been talking with Angela Artemis, the founder of Powered by Intuition, and this has been Suzie Cheel from SuzieCheel.com. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.